There is a number floating over your head right now, and most Americans will never find out what it is. It is not your salary. It is not your credit score. It is the single number that decides whether you are actually building something or just renting the illusion of a life. And here is the part that should break your brain. The middle American household, the exact person in the middle of this entire country, has a net worth of $192,900. Half the country has less, a lot less, and almost nobody knows where they actually land on that map. I'm Mr. Bandage. I patch up financial wounds for a living, and today we're doing triage on the one wound most people do not even know they have. You feel stuck. You feel behind. You feel like everyone around you is somehow pulling ahead while you are running on a treadmill glued to the floor. That feeling is not random. There is an actual map of financial adulthood in this country, and if you do not know which level you are standing on, you cannot plan your way off it. So hit that subscribe button if this is the kind of money talk that actually helps, because I drop one of these every single day. Quick note before we start, this is education, not financial advice. Do your own homework before any big money moves. Today we're going to walk through the 10 levels of net worth in America. Real numbers from the Federal Reserve, the trap at each level, and the one move that gets you to the next one. By the end, you will know exactly where you stand and exactly what the next step looks like. Before we start climbing, let's agree on what net worth actually is, because half the internet is lying to you about this. Net worth is everything you own minus everything you owe. Your checking account, your savings, your retirement, the market value of your house, the value of your car. Minus the mortgage, minus the student loans, minus the credit card balances, minus the car loan. That number, that single number, is the honest answer to the question, how am I actually doing? Not your salary, not your job title, not the car you drive. Net worth. All the numbers I'm about to give you come from the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances. It is the most comprehensive wealth survey in the country, run every 3 years, and the most recent one was conducted in 2022 and published in late 2023. The next one is not out until late 2026. So these are the freshest official numbers we have. Let's start climbing. Level 1. Negative net worth. You owe more than you own. If you are under 25 and you have a negative number, welcome to the largest club in America. The 10th percentile of households under 25 has a net worth of negative $10,000. For households between 25 and 34, the 10th percentile is negative $15,000. Student loans, credit card debt, may be a car that depreciates faster than you can pay it down. That is level 1. Here's the trap nobody sees coming. At this level, the math feels impossible, so people stop doing math entirely. They stop checking balances. They stop opening mail. They start treating their financial situation the way you treat a flat tire on the highway in the rain. They just keep driving and hope it holds. The exit strategy at level 1 is not complicated, but it is brutal. You have to stop the bleeding. That means one thing and one thing only. You stop adding new consumer debt. No new credit cards, no financed electronics, no car you cannot afford. Because as long as the hole is getting deeper, no shovel is going to get you out. Meet Jordan. Jordan is 26, lives in Phoenix, and makes $52,000 a year as a logistics coordinator. Jordan has $21,000 in student loans, $4,000 on a credit card at 23% interest, and about $6,000 left on a car loan. Jordan has $800 in checking. Do the math. Jordan's net worth is negative $20,200. Jordan is level 1. Jordan is also completely average for his demographic. The problem is not that Jordan is failing. The problem is that every payment Jordan makes goes partially to interest, so the hole refills faster than he can empty it. Until Jordan freezes new borrowing and attacks the highest rate debt first, the staircase is pointed down, not up. Level 2. Zero net worth. You are broke, but you are even. Zero is actually a milestone, I mean that. If you have crawled out of negative and hit zero, you have done something that millions of Americans never do. Your assets cancel out your liabilities. You own nothing, but you owe nothing. That is a launching pad, and it is where a huge share of young Americans sit right after they finish paying off the last student loan or the last credit card. Here's the part that should break your brain. Zero net worth feels like failure, but statistically, you are already ahead of the 25th percentile of households under 35, who sit at about $1,900. You are basically tied with them. The average American in their 20s is not crushing it. They are clawing their way out of level 1 just like you. The trap at level 2 is called lifestyle creep disguised as a reward. You pay off your debt, you feel free, and the very next month you finance a new car because you earned it. 3 years later, you are back at level 1, but with a better stereo. That is the cycle that keeps millions of people stuck between negative and zero for their entire 20s. Level 3. Starter wealth. $1 to $25,000. This is where most Americans under 35 actually live. The median net worth for households under 35 is $39,000. But that median hides a story. A huge chunk of that group is sitting between $1,000 and $25,000. Maybe they have a small retirement account from work. Maybe a few thousand in savings. Maybe a used car they actually own outright. And here is what changes everything. From this level forward, time becomes your weapon. If you have $10,000 invested in a standard retirement account at age 25, and the market returns its historical average, that $10,000 could become over $100,000 by the time you are 65, without adding another dollar. That is compounding doing the work while you sleep. That is why starting at level 3, even with small amounts, matters more than waiting until you can start big. The trap at level 3 is called the all-or-nothing mindset. People think they need to wait until they can save hundreds of dollars a month, so they save nothing. Meanwhile, $50 a paycheck into a retirement account at age 25 beats $500 a month starting at 35. The math is not close, and most people learn this lesson after it is already too late. Level 4. The $39,000 median. You are the middle, $39,000. That is the exact median net worth for Americans under 35, according to the Fed. If you are in your early 30s and you have about that much, congratulations. You are not behind. You are not ahead. You are the middle of the middle. You are the exact American that every think tank, every political ad, every magazine cover is talking about. You might be thinking, 39,000 is pathetic. How is that the median? Here's why that's not the full picture. 10 years earlier, in 2019, that same median was $13,900. The median net worth for young Americans almost tripled in 3 years. But here's the trap. That jump was not because young Americans started earning better salaries. It was because home values exploded and the stock market ran hot. If you did not own a house and did not own stocks during that stretch, that median growth happened without you. Which is why a lot of people at level 4 feel like they are drowning even though the statistics say they should be fine. The economy grew. They did not. That is the lived experience of the K-shaped economy everyone is suddenly talking about. Level 5. 6 figures. $100,000 net worth. 6 figures is a psychological mountain, and for good reason. Crossing $100,000 in net worth is the moment compounding starts to do more work than your paycheck does. A $100,000 portfolio, earning a historical market average, makes about $7,000 a year by itself. That is an extra paycheck every year just for already having the money. This is the level where the wealthy pull away from everyone else. Because once you are here, the game changes. Every new dollar you add multiplies faster. Every dollar the person stuck at zero adds gets eaten by inflation and interest payments. The gap is not in discipline. The gap is in the math of being past the starting line. Don't skip this part. The median net worth for households aged 35 to 44 is $135,600, which means if you hit six figures by your late 30s, you are right where the middle of your age group is. You are not crushing it. You are just keeping up. That is how high the bar has been quietly raised. The trap at level 5 is called the house trap. You hit six figures, you feel rich for a second, and you decide to buy a house that stretches every cent of that net worth into the down payment. 6 months later, you are house poor, living paycheck to paycheck, and your liquid net worth has collapsed back towards zero. On paper, you are wealthier. In real life, you are back at level 3. Level 6. $250,000. $250,000 net worth. $250,000 is where things start to feel real. The median net worth for Americans aged 45 to 54 is $247,200. So if you hit $250,000 by 50, you are the textbook median American household for that age. Not rich, not poor, the exact middle of middle age. $250,000 invested in a standard index fund at historical market returns doubles roughly every 10 years without you adding a single thing. That means if you hit this number at 45 and you simply do not touch it, you could retire at 65 with over $1 million just from what you already have. That is the power of getting here. That is why every financial educator in this country keeps pushing people to hit the $250,000 threshold as fast as possible. Here's the trap nobody sees coming. This is the level where people start to believe they have won and they stop playing. They reduce their retirement contributions. They finance a second car. They remodel the kitchen on credit. They take trips on points they do not actually have. At level 6, you are one bad decade away from sliding back to level 4. That is why most households between 45 and 54 stall out right around this number and never break through. Level 7. $500,000. $500,000 in net worth is the threshold where financial educators start using the word comfortable. It is not rich, but it is the point where a serious financial emergency, a job loss, a medical crisis, a divorce, does not automatically destroy your life. At level 7, you have a moat around your future. Here's where the math gets brutal. According to the Fed data, the 75th percentile of households aged 45 to 54 sits at about $771,000, which means you can be well into six figures of net worth and still not even crack the top 25% of your age group. The American middle class is wealthier than people think on the top end and poorer than people think on the bottom end. Level 7 is where you realize just how wide the spread really is. The trap at level 7 is complacency disguised as caution. People at this level start sitting on cash. They get scared of the markets. They pull money out of investments and let it rot in a low-interest savings account, losing value to inflation every year. Over a decade, that cautious move can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in missed growth. Being at level 7 and acting like you are at level 2 is one of the most expensive mistakes in personal finance. Level 8. $364,500. The peak earning years median. Let me pull you back to the data for a second. The median net worth for Americans aged 55 to 64 is $364,500. This is the peak earning decade for most Americans. Kids are out of the house or about to be. Mortgages are lower. Retirement is close enough to smell. And yet, the median household entering retirement age has less than $400,000 to their name. If they withdraw 4% a year, which is the standard safe withdrawal rate, that is about $14,600 a year of retirement income from investments, plus Social Security. That is the math most Americans are actually retiring on. That is not a prediction. That is the median. This is where it gets twisted. Meet Carla. Carla is 58 years old. She makes $95,000 a year as an office manager in Ohio. She has a paid-off car, a house with about $180,000 in equity, a retirement account with $175,000, and about $10,000 in savings. Her net worth all in is about $365,000, almost exactly the median for her age group. Carla feels behind. Carla feels like a failure. Carla is the median American at her age. The reason she feels behind is that the statistics she sees online quote the average, which is pulled up by a small group of millionaires, while she compares herself to an average she was never going to hit. The trap at level 8 is called the denial window. You realize you might not have enough for retirement, but retirement still feels far enough away that you tell yourself you will figure it out later. You do not figure it out later. The next 10 years pass exactly like the last 10 did, and level 8 becomes the floor of your entire retirement. Level 9, peak wealth, $409,000 and up. The median net worth for American households aged 65 to 74 is $409,900. This is the peak. Statistically, this is the highest net worth the average American household will ever hit. After this, net worth starts to decline because retirees are drawing down savings and Social Security is covering less and less of the real cost of living. Level 9 is the mountaintop, and most people never reach it because reaching level 9 requires every single previous level to have gone roughly right. You cannot stall at level 4 and expect to summit at level 9. The math does not let you. That is why getting out of the early levels matters so much more than most 20-somethings realize. Here's the part that should break your brain. The 90th percentile of households aged 65 to 74 is around $2,400,000. The 10th percentile of that same group is effectively zero. Same country, same age, radically different retirements. That is the K-shaped economy at full throttle, and level 9 is where it becomes impossible to ignore. Level 10. Past the $1 million threshold, actual wealth territory. A $1 million net worth used to mean you were rich. It does not anymore. In 2022, $1 million is about what the 90th percentile household aged 35 to 44 had. That is top 10% for that age, yes, but it is not rock star wealth. It is upper middle class retirement security. Real level 10 starts higher. The 90th percentile for households aged 55 to 64 is about $2.2 million. For 65 to 74, it is about $2.4 million. That is the level where you have generational wealth. That is the level where your decisions echo past your own lifetime. That is the level 90% of Americans will never see, and 10% will live inside without ever feeling it. Now here's what changes everything. Level 10 is not reached by earning more. Level 10 is reached almost exclusively by one thing: time. Consistent investing across decades through bull markets, bear markets, recessions, and boring sideways years. The people at level 10 did not time the market. They sat in it for 30, 40, 50 years. You might be thinking, well, that is great for them, but they probably inherited it. Let me give you the actual number. Only about 21% of wealthy households inherited any significant wealth. The other 79% built it, slowly, through boring decisions repeated for decades. That is the math, and it is honestly more hopeful than most people realize. So where do you stand right now? Go through the levels. Negative, zero, starter, the median, 6 figures, $250,000, $500,000, peak earning median, peak wealth, generational, find yours. And here's the trap that applies to every single level. People compare themselves to the average, not the median. The average American household net worth is $1,063,700. The median is $192,900. $900. That is a gap of 5.5 times. The average is being dragged up by a thin sliver of ultra-wealthy households. The median is where you actually live. Every time you feel behind because you saw some internet article saying the average 35-year-old has $500,000, remember, that is the average, warped by the top 1%, who alone control 31% of all the wealth in the country. You are not failing. You are comparing yourself to a number that was never real for 90% of the country. And here's the trap nobody sees coming at every level. Lifestyle creep outpaces wealth creep. Every time you move up a level, your spending tries to move up too. The raise goes to the new car. The bonus goes to the bigger apartment. The tax refund goes to something you saw on social media. That is how people with rising income stay stuck at level 3 for a decade. It is not that they are not earning more. It is that every new dollar has a destination already picked out before it lands in their account. The people who actually climb levels do one specific thing differently. When their income goes up, their lifestyle stays roughly the same. The raise becomes savings. The bonus becomes investment. The refund becomes retirement contributions. Not because they are more disciplined, but because they decided in advance that that is what new money does. Let me make the math painfully specific. Imagine two people, both earning $60,000 a year at age 25, both getting a 3% raise every year for 30 years. Person A banks every single raise into an investment account, earning the historical market return. Person B absorbs every raise into their lifestyle. Same starting salary, same career, same raises. At 55, Person A has a portfolio worth roughly $300,000 built entirely out of raises. Person B has the same income as Person A, but nothing saved from those raises at all. The only difference between them was a single decision, made once and automated. That is how invisible the lifestyle creep trap really is. Now here is where the math gets honest. Climbing levels is not the same game at level 1 as it is at level 9. When you are at level 1, every extra dollar is sprinting uphill against interest. When you are at level 9, every dollar is being pushed uphill by compounding tailwinds. That means the early levels are the hardest. They feel slowest because they are slowest. You are doing the most work for the least visible progress, and almost everybody quits right there. The people who make it to level 5, 6, 7, and beyond, they all have one thing in common. They did not quit during levels 1 through 3. They gritted their teeth, kept contributing, kept investing, and waited for the compounding to catch up, which it always does, but only for the people who stay in the game. Let me give you one more piece of data that changes everything. The Federal Reserve Survey found that the 75th percentile of Americans aged 55 to 64 has about $1,250,000 more than the 25th percentile at that same age. Same country, same age, same calendar years of life. The difference is the accumulated weight of 30 years of decisions, 30 years of either lifestyle creep or lifestyle discipline. 30 years of either saving the raise or spending the raise. There is no miracle in the gap, just math, compounded across time. This is why the level you are at right now matters less than the direction you are moving. Somebody at level 2 heading upward will pass somebody at level 5 heading downward inside of a decade. That is not motivational nonsense. That is Fed data. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not bad with money. The system you live in is built to keep most people in the early levels, and the climb out is mathematically harder than almost anyone told you when you were younger. Housing costs more. Education costs more. Healthcare costs more. Wages have not kept pace with any of them. If you feel like you are running harder and getting less, it is because you are running harder and getting less. But that does not mean the map is a lie. Every level on it is real. Every exit from every level is real. And every person at level 9 was once a person at level 1, hating the math, wondering if any of this was worth it. It always was. It still is. You just cannot see it from where you are standing today. The truth is, the net worth level you are on is mostly the result of the systems around you, not your discipline. Once you see those levels clearly, the path forward stops feeling impossible and starts feeling like a staircase you actually know how to climb. If this video helped you see things differently, drop a like. It actually matters more than you'd think. And if you want more straight talk about your money, hit subscribe. Mr. Bandage drops a new video every single day. I'll see you tomorrow with another one. Money hurts. I help.